Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rusty78609, and welcome to another thrilling Beer 30 Sanity session. The whole focus is on sanity. Relax, chill out, take a deep breath, let it out slowly, and then suck the bottom out of a beer. Here's to you, here's to me. Mm. Anyway, TGIF, I know a lot of you have worked all week long. Some of you probably haven't, like me, even though I do my own kind of work, I guess you'd say. But, Capitan, we had a little rain today. Pretty nice. They need it here. And so Friday evening and sanity. That just means, we live in a world that things are going pretty quick now, as everyone knows. And it's kind of like holding on to a horse that's trying to run off with you. But, relax Friday night, get your favorite toddy, and enjoy your life the best you can. And while you're doing that, I'll try to think of a decent story. But, I did a video I posted today about, solitude, peace and quiet is hard to find, and it is. People all over the world are looking for it, and not many of them find it. And when you do find it, it's so remote that you can't find your way back. You know what I mean? But somebody mentioned, Quonset hut today in a comment. Why don't I put a Quonset hut here on this property? And the reason I don't is because a Quonset hut, first of all, is a collapsible old military building made out of plywood. And, well, it was then. I don't know. They're probably made out of something else now. But years ago, in the 40s, 50s, after World War II, there were a lot of those available, and people would buy them to use for, storage and camp houses and all kind of stuff. Well, it just so happened that on our property near Kennedy, Texas, about 3.5 miles out of town, where we lived, I lived on a farm as a kid. We had one of those, and this fellow worked for us. He was from Mexico, named Andres, and he had worked for their family for a long time. I don't know if he was in trouble in Mexico or not. He did tell me one time he had a son, or he said he had a son in Mexico, and maybe that was part of the problem. I'm not sure. But anyway, as far as I know, I don't know that he ever went back to Mexico. He died on our farm. I found him dead one morning. But he worked for us for a long time, and he was like a father figure to me because I was around him more than I was around my own dad. But he fed the animals and stuff because we had hogs, chickens, cattle, not many cattle, a couple of milk cows, Jersey. And I milked them every day. And my mother made butter and cream and stuff, and and we had fresh milk, and we also had hog lard because we butchered our own hogs. We had Duroc hogs, which are the reddish colored hogs. But anyway, that was the Quonset hut. He lived in a Quonset hut. It was just a one-room building, small, probably, maybe I'd say 12 by 12, maybe, or 15 by 15 at the most. One, two. I'm just counting in my mind. I would say 12 by 12 or something like that. But he ate all of his meals. He didn't have to prepare any food. When we finished having our meals in the house, then I would go, or somebody would go to the back door and say, "Hey, Andreas, your breakfast is ready." And then he'd walk to the house and have whatever we had. And then Mother also, he liked coffee. And none of us, or nobody in my family, drank coffee. And so Mother bought coffee especially for him and fixed him a cup of coffee or two every morning. And so he lived pretty good, and he ate as good as I did. And and in the center of that old Quonset hut was a old pot-bellied stove. The old iron stoves. I don't know. It might have been 3 feet high or so. Had a little thing on the top, flat part on the top, just before where the flue came out, and it was flat for a while, and you could put stuff on there to heat it or warm it or whatever. I don't know that he did any cooking at all. He may have. I don't remember seeing him do any. And he had a little desk in there with some stuff in it. He never, I don't think he ever closed the door unless it was raining or cold. And we just, kids, we'd go in and out of there and check all of his stuff out. He didn't have anything. He had some chewing tobacco, black mule or whatever it is. It was come in squares, and you'd bite a chunk off. I mean, I watched him do it, and then one day I went out there and snuck in there and got a bit of piece off of it. Not a very big piece. Made me sicker than a dog, man. Pretty potent stuff. I think it was called maybe it was brown mule. I can't remember, but it was a chunk of concrete's what it was, and but he didn't smoke. He did too. He rolled his own cigarettes because he showed me how to roll cigarettes. He rolled the ones that had the little drawstrings on the bag and had the papers with the bag, and yeah, he'd take that. He could do it with one hand almost. I mean, he'd take it out and put the papers in there and sprinkle a little tobacco and do it like this and chunk it in his mouth and light it. Yeah, he was pretty damn good at that. Now, as far as smoking cigarettes, I did that later on, and I used to roll my own too. I rolled Bugler, if you remember that. I had a rolling machine, cost $2, and yeah, what you would do is you'd put the paper, then it was gummed papers. You know, you lick them and stick them. You know, and but yeah, dang, don't take off on that, guys. Hang on a minute. Here's to you. Here's to me. Mm. You can come back now, you weirdos. Anyway, but yeah, I rolled Bugler. You could buy. Well, I bought you could get a rolling machine and two bags of Bugler tobacco for $2, and it came with some papers. I think you got 20 papers with each bag. The rolling papers to roll the cigarette. And what you do, you put the cigarette in there or the paper, and then put your tobacco in there, and then you'd go broop, broop, and it'd be a perfectly round little cigarette, and you're done. You know, you just lick the little gum part and stick it on there, good, and yeah, and it came with a tin that held about, I don't know, 15 cigarettes. It was the size of a cigarette pack, but it was metal, and yeah, I'd roll me up a load of cigarettes and put them in there, and yeah, I had it. You know, that was yeah, shit. You know, and I really wasn't supposed to be smoking. I got in a lot of trouble over that damn thing. Yeah, one day, I'll just tell you, I've told this before, but I was up in the hayloft of the barn, and my dad could walk as quietly as any Indian on this earth. And but anyway, I was in a situation where I could see out the front of the barn, and you know, I was also listening so that if he came around, I'd put the rolling machine back in the haystack where I was hiding him. Anyway, because we had a lot of bales of hay up there, you know, the old square bales, and between there I'd stuff that thing. And anyway, I was right by the little steps. It wasn't steps; it was just some boards nailed on the wall as it came up the side. You'd come up into this just open area, but it wasn't a door; it was just a square cut out that entered into the hayloft. Anyway, I was right there by it, you know, and I was looking, be sure I didn't see him. I'm listening, and I'll be damned, man. This head sticks up just right here, you know, pring. And he looked around and he said, "What are you doing?" And I had the brilliant reply of, "What does it look like I'm doing?" Well, he took it a little differently than I thought he was going to take it. Woof! I mean, slide on the hay, boy. Yeah, you know, my dad, justice was immediate, okay? And away went the rolling machine. But I did get another one later on. I got better at hiding. But no, that was the rolling machine cigarette store. But the Quonset hut, inside of that Quonset hut, that was his whole home, okay? But again, he did eat in the house, and you know, yeah, or whenever we got up from the table, he'd come in and eat. And but it had on one side there was a cot, just a regular old army cot, you know, the kind that you can fold them up. But he had an army cot there. No, I take it, but wrong. He had a metal cot, metal. But it was still an old army cot, and I think it was like 26 inches wide. It made a nice bed, had a pad on it like this, and a army blanket and some stuff. So he was warm. He never complained about being cold, as far as I know. But we lived in Kennedy, Texas. You know what I mean? You don't have much cold weather at all. But enough said. But one morning I went to the back door and hollered, you know, "Andreas, your breakfast is ready," and he didn't come. And my mother said, "Well, maybe he didn't hear you. Maybe he's got the door shut. Blah blah blah. You know, go out and check on him." So I did. I went out. It was about from our house to his Quonset hut was about 75 yards, roughly. And so anyhow, and there was a trail, where he'd been coming back and forth for years. And, you just go right down that trail right to his house. It was just a flat, level ground with some mesquite trees around, not many. And so I go to his Quonset hut, and the door was open because it's warm, probably a spring or summer day. And anyway, he's laying there, on the bed, and it looked like he was sound asleep to me. And so I said, "Hey, Andreas, breakfast is ready." Nothing. And then I'd seen animals dead before, so I knew what death looked like. And anyway, so I walked over closer to him and I kind of pushed him a little bit and I said, "Andreas," and nothing. I knew he was dead, and he had a heart attack during the night. Went peaceful in his sleep, which is good. He didn't suffer from any cancer or terminal stuff. It was just kind of quick, but apparently, anyway, that's what the coroner said. And but it be that as it may. So I go back in the house and I told Mother that Andres ain't coming today. And she said, "Why not?" And I said, "I think he's dead." And she said, "Oh no," So she goes out and checks, and yep, she verified my theory that he was dead. And then she got, of course, we had an 8-party line. She had to get on the phone and tell everybody to get off so she could make an emergency call. But of course, they, knowing that she's making an emergency call, couldn't wait to get back on to listen to what she was calling about. You know what I mean? That's what a party line is, okay? It's like the local newspaper almost. But anyway, then the local sheriff comes out, and they got to do the whole thing. And anyway, we paid for having him buried, and yeah, in Kennedy they had a separate Hispanic cemetery away from the gringos, I guess you'd say, or whatever you want to call us. And but it was right. In fact, it was a much better location. I mean, it was really prettier. And it was more colorful because the Mexican people are more colorful. You know what I mean? Anyway, so that's where he buried. I went to the funeral and all that stuff, and that was my first real experience with somebody checking out. But here's to you, here's to me. Friday evening sanity session. Get sane. Hmm. And then somebody asked me to tell a Cushman Eagle story. Of course, I've told this story too. And if you guys want to listen to them, lean back and enjoy your toddy, whatever it is, or smoke a blunt, whatever. And yeah, but these are easy stories to remember because they were really right in front for they were really something for me. But we used to go all the way to Beeville, Texas, every now and then to go shopping, which was 32 miles away from where our farm was on Highway 181. You'd go just shoot right down Highway 181 through Pettus and then into Beeville. Pettus was the halfway point, and then Beeville, Texas, a little bigger town. Of course, they had a air base there, and that made it much bigger. It had more shopping and stuff, and so go there every now and then. But anyway, while Mother and my sisters or whoever were doing some shopping and stuff, I would roam around the town. Well, anyway, they had a motorcycle dealer there, but it was a Cushman Eagle dealer also. They had Cushman Eagles on the showroom floor. They had two of them. They had a blue one and a red one. And every time we'd go there, I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. And I'd go there and just sit on those things. And in my mind, I'm going all over the universe. And they were really pretty little motor scooter things, And you could get a 5 horsepower or an 8 horsepower. Man, I thought that was just super, super neat. And in fact, when I would go there, sometimes they'd be closed, and I'd just sit there at the window like this. Oh shit, man! Oh God, I wanted a Cushman Eagle bad, but we didn't have a lot of money, And but anyway, my dad came up with this plan. He said, "Okay, you want a Cushman Eagle, right?" And I said, "I sure do." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. There's 10 acres of land there by the stock tank." Kind of on the side of a hill. It wasn't, perfect, but it was okay. He said, "I'll tell you what you do. You clear the rocks and the stumps and plant it with flax. That's what we were growing back then was flax. And then we'll harvest it. And whatever we get for that 10 acres, you can spend on a Cushman Eagle. Should be enough to cover it." And anyway, I don't know any of the numbers or any of that crap. But I want you to know that field was clean. You understand? It was clean. I mean, all I could see was a Cushman Eagle every time I picked up a rock. You know what I mean? And so we got all the rocks cleared out, got the stumps, old mesquite stumps. Andreas helped me a lot. God bless his soul. And yeah, we got it cleared, man. And then I plowed it pretty good. Turned it over, and and then we had this thing. Oh, I don't know what you'd call it. Uh, but it basically, you kind of drug it, it had these little spikes on it and stuff, and it would smooth it out and get in. It would, any of the rocks that were turned up from me plowing, it would bring them to the surface, and I could get those out of the way too. And then subsequent to that, I did plant it when it was planting time, and then Daddy, when we were combining, because if it rains, whenever the flax is ready to be harvested, you'll lose a crop because it'll mildew in the pods. The pods will just go south. And but fortunately, we had a good year that year. The rains came at the right time. The sun shines at the right time, and we harvested that 10 acres. And I made a little money. I don't know how much I made. Daddy never told me. All he did is one day he said, hop in. We're going to San Antonio. I said, why are we going to San Antonio? He said, well, we're going to get that Cushman Eagle. And I thought, are you kidding me? And I'm thinking, why don't we go to Beeville? So 32 miles. But anyway, apparently he checked with somebody in the people in Beeville didn't have an 8 horsepower, they had a 5. And he wanted me to get an 8 horsepower, have more power, whatever. So anyway, I think it was a Briggs and Stratton engine, could be. But anyway, it had a shift knob right by the gas tank. I think the gas tank hold about a gallon and a half. And, you turn the twist throttle, it had never mind. I won't get into all the details. When we go to San Antonio, you get the thing, got it. I think it was like $600. I mean, and and I thought, God Almighty, And of course, he got the rear seat rack, and he had it fixed up. I mean, it had dual exhaust, the chrome exhaust, all that stuff. Well, actually, it was a single exhaust coming out, and then it split into two, but it had a beautiful sound to me. But then back then, you had to break in car engines because they didn't come pre-broke in. I got to take a swallow of beer, guys. Here's to you. You had to drive. Even cars had to be broken in, if you remember that. And for the first, but on the motor scooter, you drive it like 25 miles and then cool it, let it cool down, and then you drive it 25 until you got to 100, and then you could go from 100 to 200, and you had to change the oil and all that stuff, pretty quick. And but anyway, but it took us quite a while to get back to Kennedy because it was like probably a normal hour drive, but going slow like that probably took 2 or 2.5. But anyway, my dad was patient, and I made it, and boy. Here's what we did. See, my dad had a roll. My mother had made him a big thing to put tools in. It had all the different sizes, like for the 1/2 inch, quarter, 3/8, 1 inch. They were all like so you could put them in the bag in order and then roll them up and you'd have them all, and the bag was kind of oily and stuff. But anyway, I knew where that tool bag was. So he brought it to the Cushman Eagle when we got home. And, we go through, he said, okay, here's how you change the oil. Here's how you put the grease for the clutch thing. He showed me how to take it off and do all this. He showed me pretty much, well, in fact, I guess everything I needed to know, and except for one thing, how to start it. And there was a little choke, but I wasn't heavy enough to really, you lifted this thing up, and then you had to compress it down to spin the engine to get it started. Okay, you raise it up. But you have you choke it a couple of times and then you push down it, it'd start. But you had to, but for me, I couldn't just push it down. I had to jump up in the air and come down on it and put all my force on it to get it to. But my dad said, hell, if you can't start it, you can't ride it. I just left. He'd showed me everything he knew, and away he goes to the co-op gin or whatever he was doing then. And there I sit with a motor scooter. I can't get started. But I did. Oh, yeah. I damn sure did. And I never forgot either. I started it a lot after that. I mean, it was like being a free from prison or whatever. You know what I mean? I could go anywhere. I could go to town anytime I wanted to. If I was sitting at home and there wasn't anything really to do and I'd fed the animals or whatever, and I wanted to ride to the Dairy Queen, or we called it the Creamy back then, same thing, where kids hung out. Shit, I just hop on my little Cushman Eagle and ride down the highway. The top speed on it was probably 60 miles an hour, top. And but I'd cruise about 45, 50 because that seemed to be a comfortable speed. And no, but it was it was freaking awesome, man. But anyway, that's the Cushman Eagle story, and that's the Quonset Hut story, and this is the beer story. Here's to you. Here's to me. Mm. But back then, I know somebody's going to think of this. But Kennedy was a small town. We had one city policeman, and I think we had a deputy sheriff, or I think we had one deputy and then the sheriff. That's all. That was all law enforcement in the whole county. And as far as driver's license, I don't think anybody worried about that crap back then. This was in the like 1957 range. No, I never had a policeman stop me and ask me for a driver's license, highway patrol or anybody. Nobody ever, 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 ever. And I'd go down, the main highway in town, all that stuff. Nope. But you could get a driver's license back then at age 14, and I did. From my age, it was 12. I was 12 when I got the Cushman Eagle, I think, or yeah, 12. And yeah, 2 years, 2.5 years later, I got my driver's license. But yeah, I rode that thing for about 3 years, 3.5 years, and then well, I didn't get a car. I just drove the family car. But yeah, but when you get a car, the motor scooter kind of lost its flavor. You know what I mean? Yeah, taking a girl on a date on a motor scooter, even though I did. Oh God, I'll tell you one quick story. You'll love this. This girl's name was, well, I won't mention her name. God, she was beautiful though. God Almighty, she had black hair. I mean, to me, she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. Okay, and she was 2 years older than I was. And anyway, we had a public swimming pool in Kennedy, and when I was able, I'd ride my scooter into town, go to the swimming pool. It was, I don't know, 50 cents for all day or whatever it was, but that's where most of the girls that lived in town or whatever would come. Except for, I'll mention her first name. Her first name was Doris. Well, there was more to that, but anyway, but she was freaking awesome, man. She was beautiful. I mean, I'm not kidding you, man. She even had breasts. I mean, nice breasts, okay. But she was 2 years older than I was. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so anyway, I was swimming pool one day, and I was getting ready to go back to my house out in the country, and anyway, she said, Rusty, could you give me a ride home? Could I give you a ride home? Could I give you a ride home? Are you shitting me? Ho, ho, ho. Because, see, it only had one big seat, so she had to sit on the same seat and, kind of put her arms around me and shit. And she was in her swimsuit. You understand? She had a towel, but I mean, and anyway, I mean, I was just, yo, 12 years old. That's Hormone City. You know what I mean? And anyway, yeah. But she lived totally the opposite way out of town. I mean, to get to her place from the swimming pool was probably, sheesh, 10 miles. And I'm glad it was. I wish it had been 50. I'm not kidding. Oh, yeah, man. God dang. Woo, dog. Yeah, I drove slow as I could drive without the engine dying. You know what I mean? No, I mean, I wanted to be safe. You understand? No, but she had her arms around me. She's hanging on. And man, I'm thinking, God, if there is a God, this is it. You know what I mean? Yeah, so we're cruising down there. We get to her house. And anyway, she was a warm-blooded woman. Yeah, she got off and she turned around and she came back and she kissed me right on the mouth. Are you kidding me? Huh? I didn't need a motor scooter to get back to town then. Oh, no. Shit. I don't know why I'm telling you all this, but it's a true story, man. God dang. Oh yeah. No, that was a whole new life. But, that's growing up though, guys. But having said that, guys, here's to you, here's to me. I probably lingered a little longer than I should, but shit, you're the only people I got to talk to. So here's to you, here's to me. Mm-hmm. Well, guys, with that in mind, that should help you regain some of your sanity, thinking about those childhood memories of your first chew of tobacco, your first cigarette, your first kiss, your first hug by a breasted girl. Yo, you know what I mean? And yeah, and a swimsuit. And but yeah, if that doesn't bring you back to sanity, nothing will. But anyway, guys, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, enjoy your life one day or one moment at a time. At ease, carry on. And yeah, stand guard at the door of your mind. Use the Amazon link if you choose to. If you don't want to fool with it, don't worry about it. Anyway, guys, Here's to Sanity. Here's to me. Here's to you. Adios till comment call. Bye bye. I can't believe I told y'all all that shit.